Good morning, Santa Paula. This is Peggy Kelly with the Santa Paula Times, and today our guests are Mayor Rick Araiza of the City of Santa Paula and our interim police chief, Cordero. It's Thursday, April 23rd, at least that's what I'm counting on, and we're all going to bring you all up to date on some things that have been happening countywide and city-centric, as it were. So, Rick, good morning to you. And
good morning.
We've got the county's new orders now that they're loosening things up just a touch for businesses and recreation. What have you heard on that?
Yeah, they're loosening up. Ventura County and the city of Ventura have opened up their beaches and parks. So still the social distancing within those areas, but loosening up a little bit. I think our Ventura County health director still wants to see a little more flattening of the curve before he opens it up. Anyway, I think once we get to restaurants opening, hopefully in a couple of weeks to maybe a month from now, there'll still be the social distancing issues that will continue. But they're starting to loosen up somewhat.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know Dr. Levin had mentioned yesterday when he gave his update that there's people out there that perhaps had health problems and perhaps, had underlying or great old age or whatever, but still it was COVID-19 that caused their deaths and have caused their great illnesses. And that's the other, we got to stop it, and it's up to us. So right. I can only agree. Now, I know, is the city going to see any relief from the federal stimulus package? I don't know if that's passed yet, excuse me, but.
I believe today there was going to be a vote on the second session or second phase of the stimulus package. We don't know if the cities are involved. I did hear that some companies that got the first phase are having to give back because they're publicly traded, and I forget what the name of the first company was, but they're giving back $20 million. So this one's aimed more for small businesses. I did talk to the local bank, Bank of Sierra. They are working, they have about 3,000 applications between their various branches, totaling almost $100 million. So,
wow. And is that on the paycheck stimulus?
Yes, it is. And once, if this passes, then those are all on deck, ready to get funds.
Oh, okay. So in other words, they've got approximately throughout their whole area, which they're in California, Northern California, et cetera, Central California, they've got about 3,000 applications that they're holding until the stimulus package releases more funding.
Right. They're collecting all the information, working with the various businesses to make sure that everything's up to date, ready to go. If it passes today, once the funding is there, then they would be reaching out to get some of that funding for those businesses. So if you haven't worked with their local bank, now's the time to make sure you're in there, because it ran out really fast the first time.
Sure did. And that's and you work with the banks for the paycheck stimulus portion. I know they have also a disaster loan portion.
Right.
And that's directly through the SBA.
The SBA is correct. They can also do that. So a lot of things happening. And as we've said every week, it's day to day. I mean, we never know what's going to happen tomorrow, but be on board and keep your ears open, because something pops up almost every day.
Yeah, well, I know they had a Chamber of Commerce, United Chambers of Commerce stimulus package, as it were, and they had a $5,000 grant that opened up the other day, and the website crashed within minutes, with people trying to apply, and they did finally straighten it out, but it's just really, there's so much need out there, and hopefully, just, I know with the smaller business people, they're the ones that really are in the most need. And I'm not saying that corporations aren't in need. They are, but very often they've got a different base of income and they have more of a reserve, and the revenue stream is different and everything. So we've got to take care of the American business person, that's for sure. Now, this another thing is, how is this impacting the city's revenues? Because then
Well-
how would it perhaps impact our services? Because I know it's really tight for the cities, and particularly Santa Paula.
Yes, and Ish, I know, I had a discussion this morning with Ish as to his essential services people. I mean, we're getting ready to tighten our belt here in the next few weeks. We only have rough numbers from what our revenues are going to be from sales. So until we hear something, I know the city manager is keeping the city council abreast of it, but we may be seeing some kind of cutbacks. We don't know yet. And I know very, very many people are asking, well, what is it? Well, we don't know yet. We haven't got our payments yet. And all we're being told is it's going to be a significant cut. So if that happens, the city, we have a reserve, but we don't know. I don't know what the other council members will feel about that.
Right.
It'll be a decision whether we dip into any reserves to keep people, whether we have to go to furloughs, whether we try and cut some hours. We don't know yet. We are going to have a special meeting on Monday, and I believe the city manager will give us an up-to-date as to what he knows at that time. But like I said, changing day to day, I know it's frustrating for the people to not hear what those numbers are, but we don't have them yet. We just have approximations. That's it.
Well, and not only that, once the reserve's gone, that's it, especially in this day and age. And, I mean, everybody's watching their pennies, as it were. And I know it's sad, but, people are having to make sacrifices, and, maybe there's a way to stagger furloughs or do things like that. But, and then of course the other side of the coin is then if it goes into like layoffs and things like that, then that system gets completely strained, and it's hard. You've got some hard decisions coming your way, Rick. You and the council and management. I'm sure it's nerve-wracking. So
yeah, like I said, it's we worry about it all the
hard
time.
to know. Yeah, you can't call it, because if you call it too high, then it's like, well, wait a minute, it's worse than we thought. Or if you call it too low, that would be good news if it's better, but you can't take that chance.
Right.
Oh boy, well, we'll be watching Monday's meeting for sure. Now, Ish, are there, how's the community been behaving through all this? This is so different. Are you having increased issues? Is our crime going up? I know that domestic violence is going up statewide, nationwide, because of the stress that's out there. And how about crime rates? How are we doing with that?
Well, in talking to the other chiefs around the county yesterday morning, we're pretty much facing the same types of increasing crimes or decreasing crimes in relation to this COVID-19. We did have a sharp, initially during the first 2 weeks of this quarantine or the stay-at-home order, we did have a spike in domestic and disturbance calls. But during the last week and a half, I've noticed that they're coming down quite a bit. So that helps. But countywide, during the last month, they increased, I believe, 15 to 20%.
Yes.
So that's quite a bit. But in Santa Paula, I think it's fair to say that I've noticed it come down and kind of flatline. So that's good.
That is good.
And when we say domestic calls, it doesn't necessarily mean so much physical contact with one another. It's more like unruly people at home, loud music, whatever, but not necessarily mean domestic battery type calls.
Sure.
As far as
violence.
Right. As far as crime, we also did have a spike in property crimes, petty thefts and burglaries. And that was, again, in talking to the other chiefs and the sheriff, they pretty much had the same thing, specifically in stolen vehicle reports. So that went up a little bit. Here in Santa Paula, we were able to identify a group of 4 or 5 people that were doing commercial burglaries. Just yesterday, we executed, or a couple of days ago, we executed a couple of search warrants. We have 4 in custody, and we solved, or the detectives solved, anywhere 6 to 8 commercial burglaries.
Oh,
And
wow.
they're looking at more in the city, as well as other crimes like that, burglaries, strong arm robberies, and so forth.
Now, are these locals, these 4 people, or were they from out of town? At this point, do you know offhand?
Initially, based on the sophistication of the crime, I thought maybe it was out of town, but we found out that they were Santa Paula juveniles.
Oh, okay, sure. Well, unfortunately, I guess, they've got all that time on their hands, and doesn't crime usually go up a little bit anyway with juvenile involved crime in summer months when they're out of school and everything?
Yeah, traditionally that is the summer months where we get an increase in petty thefts and vandalism type crimes.
But these guys sound pretty organized.
Yeah, not so much felony type of crimes. We
Sure.
get the juvenile type of crimes. But in this case, they're pretty sophisticated, and to the point where they were going into commercial businesses.
Wow. And they're actually burglarizing them.
Yes. And otherwise, other types of crimes, remain pretty much, I hate to say normal, but, at its normal pace.
Yeah, it's regular levels.
Yeah.
Now,
but,
I know that sorry, I know they've got the CHP is cracking down on people on the highways that are going 100 miles an hour. And I've noticed on 150 that comes into Santa Paula from Ojai, and I've noticed that I've seen some really radical speeders on that. Have you guys had any uptick in speeding tickets, or?
Not necessarily. I don't think it's any spike in that type of moving violation. We have a motor officer who's still pretty active.
Yes.
And we've placed the speed trailer in different parts of the city every day. So I think that helps maintain the speed limits. There are streets that we're still having problems with, but we're trying to keep an eye on that and enforce those speed laws in those areas.
Now, I'm sure that all of our first responders, as it were, and even our city staff and our elected officials, I'm sure you hear from people that they appreciate the fact that you're working, you're out there, you're trying to have your officers been getting them. I know they're all very modest. Well, maybe except for 1 or 2, but I know. But have they reported that they're getting high fives from people, and real high fives from people and things like that? I think people are feeling very, very thankful out there.
Yes, they are.
Not seeing as many people as they would anyway, but.
Yeah, I've received a couple of phone calls praising the officers and their actions out there. But, I live here in Santa Paula, lived here forever, and I'm out and about quite a bit, the store or restaurant or what have you. And I hear the comments. I hear people that are praising the officers. I hear them praising the officers for being busy and proactive in times of crisis. And yeah, they're praising the officers, and officers are so far, everybody's showing up to work, no issues, no problems, no illnesses. And they're continuing to do their job to the highest standards that are expected of them. So yeah, I think the community overall is appreciative of them being out here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And Rick, just I guess to take your mind off things, you're reopening Friday night, La Cabana. You're going to be with takeout.
We're opening for takeout. We've had extensive remodeling done throughout the restaurant. So although people won't be able to go in and see, they can at least see our entrance. We have a new entrance, spruced it up a little bit, got a new parking lot, working on trash enclosure. So yeah, we're excited about getting open tomorrow. We've already got quite a number of call-ins already. So
I bet.
we're expecting to be busy tomorrow. So we've brought in the bartender, even though they can't sit at the bar. The bartender will be mixing up margaritas, and we've got several orders already. So call in if they can, because I expect people are calling and asking if I'm going to be there. My whole family will be there. So
that's wonderful.
Just,
I know
just to see the old familiar faces. It's been a long time. This being shut up in your home, you don't get to see. I mean, Ish and I grew up in Santa Paula. We recognize people from childhood, and it's always nice to at least give them a wave and hope they're doing well. And that's they'll drive up, and at least we can exchange some pleasantries, say hi, and keep it up because we are doing very well here in Santa Paula.
well, that's great.
Steady.
I expect it is going to be very busy at that corner there. So instead of a SIG alert, it's going to be a senior alert.
Well, it's also the same day that Food Share is going to be out there. And last week, Food Share, the line Ish, I don't know if you remember, but last week the line went from the Harding Park over all the way to 10th Street. So there needed to be police enforcement finally got there, traffic control. So that's going to happen tomorrow also. So it's going to be a busy Harvard from 12.
I guess so. Now, speaking of food and Food Share too, for that matter, we've been working with different agencies, and different agencies are working here. Of course, we've got our own wonderful home-based Spirit of Santa Paula. We've got the city recreation department as far as senior meals, and all that's continuing.
Yes, it is. And I believe that tomorrow, like I said, tomorrow will be Food Share. Saturday is usually the Spirit of Santa Paula over further past the Boys and Girls Club. But there's very many people in need, and I see the lines of people that aren't as fortunate. So, yeah.
I know. I think Spirit of Santa Paula also does Wednesday afternoons, evenings at the First Presbyterian Church on Davis Street. So, if people like, they can always dial 211 and find out where there's food pantries or food available. It's the school district's giving away food to students, families. It's stuff out there. So, everybody, we all have to take care of each other.
I just heard on the news that the unemployment rate's the highest since the Depression. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And the recovery, that's what we're going to have to really watch for, is the recovery. But the thing is we are going to recover. We are going to be all okay. And I'll be bugging Ish coming into his place and banging on the police doors. And I want a press release on those kids that were arrested too, Ish. I want to get that.
Yeah, that's currently in the works right now. So
okay.
I read it, but I didn't like what I read, so to speak. So I returned it so they could add more details to it.
Oh, okay, great. Because people don't realize that all you need a gang of people, whether it's juveniles or whatever, and they can be responsible for 99% of your incidents in town.
Yeah, and what happens? Yeah, and what happens is one or two incidents will drive your percentage points high, and people, I think, are looking at the percentages versus the actual count. Percentages could be deceiving at times, and that's what a lot of people look at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, any last words there, Mayor Rick? Or
no, I just want to thank the citizens for keeping that social distancing. We're doing fine. We are, like you said, we are going to get out of this. Hopefully not too distant future, but we are going to work together to make ourselves much stronger.
Yes, we are. And Ish, any parting words to everyone?
Yeah, I too like to thank the citizens of Santa Paula for cooperating in this time of crisis. I think that without them, without the cooperation, I think things could be a lot worse here. But I think everybody is doing their part and contributing to maintaining these low numbers that we have so far. And pretty much everybody's being cooperative and doing their part. And I thank them for doing that.
Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, it was wonderful seeing you, even from afar, as it were. And don't forget to visit kadytv.net and be sure to subscribe. And we'll be bringing you more programming like this, and that'll give us even more opportunities for programming. And I want to thank again Mayor Rick Araiza and Interim Police Chief Ish Cordero for joining us today and bringing us up to date on what's going on in Santa Paula, which is the center of our universe. So anyway, so thank you, gentlemen, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Peggy. Thank you.
Thanks, Peggy.